Today we're going to be building up the perfect nether hub for my 54,000 day hardcore Minecraft world that I spent the last 6 years of my life in, connecting up over 40 different mega builds throughout my world to a central location linked to my main base. And as my world continues to grow and expand, having a proper nether hub is very important, because for those of you guys who are unaware, every block in the nether is equivalent to 8 blocks in the overworld, making this the fastest way to navigate your world. I'm also going to be revisiting the contract of life where I need to fight a warden in order to earn back totems in my world. In the last episode I created an arena just to do this, so if you guys missed it on that episode, I'll link it down in the description below. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe before we get started. We're going to start off by tearing down the original nether hub and removing all the light blue and cyan colors throughout in order to begin with a nice clean slate. This is going to help me create more focal points later on with the nice negative space that black concrete creates throughout. In addition, I'm also going to be removing all the white blocks in the vicinity to accentuate the chandelier above. I'll also be putting out all the fire from down below, removing all the beacons around the hub, getting rid of all the hearts that were supposed to be symbolic of life and death, then taking on the dangerous task of removing the shriekers above the warden without thankfully getting hit. Now to remove the main nether portal with the shrieker beneath it to further accentuate the chandelier in the middle of the room. I'm also going to be redesigning the stairs that lead into the lower half of the nether hub and reclaiming all the ancient debris within the walls. And finally, I'm going to be removing all the red nether brick arches, and I'm going to be replacing the swords for our statues later on. Now time to head over to the tree farm so we can start farming up some resources for the nether hub, starting things off with a ton of pale oak and dark oak logs that will later become pillars in the nether hub. It also allows me to strip logs as well. Now just time to head over to the gold farm to start bartering with some piglins so I can start gathering up a lot of gravel for the black concrete I'm going to need later on, and a bunch of black stone that I'm going to need as well. And while I wait, I'm going to be at my wither skeleton farm farming up some coal. And none of these farms would have been at all possible if I never spent over 3 months digging out the nether and getting rid of the lava and slabbing everything over to make everything 100% spawn proof in the end. Because when you don't AFK, you have to be as efficient with your time as you possibly can be. Now just to make a quick trip out to the nether wart farm to make some red nether bricks, and then we'll farm up some crystals to make some tinted glass later on. Now time for the building portion, replacing all the black stone with the black concrete, which will make for a smoother transition. Adding in tiled deep slate stairs connecting the lower to the upper half, making mob transportation much easier. Then utilizing coal in the walls to bring out the red nether bricks just a little bit more while maintaining that clean look. Then using glass to prevent mobs from spawning. Now just to add some additional detail in the middle by adding this really cool portal in the floor. Then using blackstone to add another additional layer of depth to the walls, bringing the platform out of the fog a little bit better. For the details, I'm going to be adding in some candles for another shade of black, and then reincorporating the soul lanterns as a sparse pop of color. For the upper portion, I'm going to be doing something a little bit more bold by integrating some large red stained glass windows into the mix, which is going to help to break up all that black concrete. For the middle portion, I'm going to be incorporating some pillars that will create some natural divides. And for the lower half, I'm going to mix in some pale oak wood. And for the summoning circle, I'm going to have a hand reaching for the portal. And respawn anchors to add some light, which I think the end result looks very creepy. And lastly, just to replace the swords around the hub. This place is already looking so much better, and all I've done is give it a little bit of a facelift and add little bits and pieces of detail along the way. But I want to talk a little bit about this hand reaching up out of the summoning circle for the portal above. I need to make a way of probably getting up to that portal a little bit nicer, but I love the hand. It gives a really creepy atmosphere to this entire area. And I wanted to make it look like it was kind of necrotic, like it was dead reaching up out of the portal. Another really cool thing about the hand is it actually acts as a little bit of a compass for this entire area. Since I kind of get disoriented and I'm not really sure which way I'm heading, the palm is going to be facing towards my ocean monument right in behind here. That's going to lead me out to all of my aquatic builds. And the back of the hand is going to lead me back to my iron farm and where the skull lance is located, right through this portal right here. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to be adding in a lot more statues into this whole area. I think that doesn't really fit into the entire environment. So I want to put diagonal statues over here in between all of these big red windows that you guys see. And then I'm going to be putting gargoyles down on this fog effect, kind of facing in towards this guy. And then we'll put additional statues up here. I also really love the way that the swords turned out with the blue flame at the very top with the statues over here. And I still have to redesign the warden cages above. Now let's talk a little bit about the future of the nether hub, because I want to expand this area, but it's going to be quite difficult. I want to break a giant hole in the bedrock roof right here, so I might extend this chain up into the roof. As of right now, this is my only way of getting up. I've only broken 2 pieces of bedrock to get up the roof, and then this whole gold farm that you guys see behind me was the original plan about 5 years ago, where I was going to build my original nether hub, but I quickly decided against that, and I wanted to build my actual nether hub inside the nether. But I know that I've been against building above the nether roof for a very long time, and that's mainly because I was very worried that Mojang would get rid of the ability to build above the nether roof. So I think I'm going to be keeping the gold farm here. I'm going to be removing the bartering farm. I'm going to be removing this whole area, this entire area, and whatever I build up here, I have to make sure that I 100% complete it. That way, if Mojang ever gets rid of the ability to build above the nether roof, kind of like what they did with the spawn chunks for parity, I'm not going to be affected by it long term. But it's time to get the rest of these statues in place and start figuring out exactly how we're going to tackle the bedrock. Starting off by creating these gargoyles, that's going to take up a really nice negative space on either side of this stairway, facing in towards the central statue. Now, just to close off the rest of the room by creating these 45-degree angled statues in front of these doorways, that's going to act as a natural divide in between these two large red stained glass windows. And lastly, dragon shields on all four corners of the hub. Now, I thought about breaking a ton of bedrock, but I thought this was cooler. Meet Artemis. Artemis is a steampunk whale with a mind of its own. It's going to be our way to the nether roof. Once I linked another portal to the roof, I started to remove the old gold hub and the iron tunnel that branched off of it using TNT and cleaning it up with a pickaxe. Now I was able to start off this footprint of the build so I can create a better understanding of all the resources that I was going to need and the overall size of this nether hub expansion I was getting myself into, using blackstone and coal blocks to create a really cool base layer for me to build off of. Now the platform behind me is much bigger than you guys may think it is, and soon enough it will make a lot more sense why I have to build this on the nether roof, because this build wouldn't actually fit in the actual nether. This is going to be going all the way up to build limit, which is crazy. For those of you guys who don't know where that is, that's way up there. And did I mention that this entire thing has to be 100% spawn proof? Yeah, I've got my work cut out for me for all the resources that we're going to need for this build. I did set up the portal all the way up there, and the bedrock that I have broken is right here. I actually broke this many years ago, but if we drop down here a little bit more gracefully next time, I'll drop down into the main hub right here. Luckily, I had a bunch of magma blocks already, but if I needed more, I know exactly where to go, removing this old gold farm that I don't use anymore. Because my portal-based gold farm is far better since I don't AFK in the world, collecting a shulker box of gold to barter with the piglins so I can gather up some more blackstone and gravel for the build. For the ton of wool I needed for this build, I was very thankful I had 3 sheep farms scattered throughout my world that I was able to collect from, and an overflowing squid farm that I was able to get all the dye that I was going to need for all the glass and the terracotta. Time to build a summoning circle that's going to act as a focal point in the center of the room, using the magma blocks I gathered earlier as a nice pop of color, and then finishing it off with a Wendigo skull in the middle. For the walls, I'm going to be starting off with a bright red backdrop to later be dolled out with some black glass for the statues to sit in front of, then framing them out with a little bit of black wool to create a negative space that will later be filled with a pop of color. The statues themselves are supposed to be reapers who deem me worthy or not to hold another totem, creating 3 of them with the center one acting as my portal connecting to the overworld. For the back wall sealing off the area, I have something different planned to act as another focal point for the room. Now I just needed to enclose the summoning room from the rest of the nether to begin decorating the walls with some roses to act as a nice complementary color tying together the rest of the room. Just leaving the ceiling left to finalize to complete the area. For the final wall to tie in the roses, I'm going to be building a facade of a forest using pale oak logs and spruce leaves, then building a crescent moon above with some clouds. Then building a giant Wendigo skull that's going to be looking down to the summoning circle below. I truly think I may have outdone myself with this build because wow, do I love the way everything turned out. Now, I've yet to have a gas spawn up on these antlers. I will go over this and put a bunch of pale oak buttons just so no mobs can spawn up there, but this is supposed to be symbolic of the Wendigo forest right here. Obviously the Wendigo head, the moon, the clouds, and a little bit of a forest behind me. I was also thinking about putting like a little cabin in there, but I didn't know exactly how to make that happen. But green is obviously a complementary color to red. So when we turn on over here and we look up at the cultist who's looking down at the summoning circle that I'm standing upon right now, with the roses on each side and the glass and behind him, just to kind of tone back a little bit of that red wool. Wow. And right here is the main portal that I have to go through in order to get into this area to the top of the nether roof. These areas on the both sides, these are just supposed to be like negative spaces. And I added a really cool cracked effect to the ceiling and all of the walls around here as well. Although I'm not really sure if you guys can see that on YouTube. The summoning circle was actually a lot of fun to build. The star was a little bit complicated, being my first star I've ever built. And then there's the dead goat head here in the center. Or it's supposed to be kind of like a Wendigo head. And then it's got like the antlers right here, which was like a nice little centerpiece of the whole deal. This whole area is supposed to be symbolic of the contract of life. And for those of you guys who are unaware of what that is, well, in my hardcore world, I don't just put on brand new totems, I have to earn them back by fighting the warden, as I said previously in today's video, but this is going to be the actual sacrificial area that I have to come to over here on the summoning circle to summon in a brand new totem as I sacrifice 2 enchanted apples to be deemed worthy to hold another totem. And mainly because I haven't seen this with shaders yet, and I was as curious as you guys are, but this is the entire area with the shaders. Oh my god. The summoning circle really pops. And the Wendigo eyes are really demonic, which I think is super freaking awesome. I think you can make out the cracks just a little bit better with the shaders as well. And the portal looks fantastic. Underneath this portal guy is actually how I get down to the bottom layer of this whole deal. I'm gonna have to clean this up just a little smidge, but there should be, yep, there it is. There's a hole that I fly up down to into the other portion of the Nether hub, where we have a little bit more work to be done down here. Now, there's not a whole lot more I want to add to this central hub here, because I think at this point it would become a very cluttered, very fast. And I like the kind of the simplistic approach, using the statues to really pop throughout the hub. But these little central areas right here, these ones need to be redone. I want to build a chandelier up top. I need to build out these walls a little bit better, because with the black concrete, it becomes very difficult for me to know exactly where I'm going and how I'm navigating the main Nether hub. And I want to have symbolic areas throughout my entire Nether hub to tell me exactly where I'm heading off to. So this place is Motham City, which is actually where the next big movie is going to take place. I'm going to be doing some major building out here in Motham City. And for those of you guys who don't know, this is where my Wither Skeleton farm is, Froglight farm, Gold farm, Bartering farm. I want to build up a whole city in here, all inspired by Arcane. But I'm drawing some inspiration from the main tunnel here. I used a lot of Wither Skulls and a lot of beacons as decorative choices throughout this tunnel. And I'm thinking about doing the same thing potentially in this room right here, just to kind of give me a little bit of an idea on where I'm going. The only issue is when I spawn in on this central portal right here and I'm looking around the hub of where I want to go, yeah, the palm faces towards the ocean monument, but when I'm flying around, I can't really see inside these little corridors, so I need to come up with a creative idea to kind of signify where I'm heading off to in a very subtle way that is not obvious, so I know exactly where I'm heading off to. For the longest time, I tried to make this chandelier work inside of here, but I ultimately landed on doing this flower right here, which I think looks fantastic. It takes up a really nice portion of that ceiling over there, and it's not too obstructive. It's not hanging down too much. The pop of red is such a beautiful focal point as you walk into this room, utilizing the lightning rods and the end rods to light up the ceiling a bit better, and using really cool glass effects just to kind of add in little bits and pieces of shading. I love the way that that turned out. For the rest of the room, I went with a little bit of a Twilight Wendigo forest, kind of what I did up top, but I brought it down below just to kind of make a little bit of a correlation between the two rooms. I built these really cool red skulls using the Wither Skulls here as the eyes. They almost follow you around the room, which is really neat. Plus, I love that little pop of red. It goes really well with the flower at the very top, and then ties in a little bit of this floor right here. Sprinkled in a little bit of the pale oak buttons for some stars. This central piece right here. Now, this is where I need your guys' help. Do I put a blaze in here? A baby gasling? A wither skeleton? What do you guys think would go beautiful right here in the center? I've got the wither skulls. These are supposed to be kind of like summoning altars. I want to do something special right there in the center. Not wardens. I think they're obviously way too big. I did leave myself a 3-block gap. The doorways, I also feel is a really nice effect as well. So now when we walk into the room, we can't see the adjacent halls. And I'm just now realizing that I need to put another black stone right there for the handle. Whoops. But I can't see into the hallways, which is really nice. It kind of doesn't break the immersion, because behind this door right here is obviously Alice in Wonderland. So it's got a lot of pink, blue, and a lot of colors that we don't really want to bleed into the main Nether hub. Same thing goes with the orange. So I added these little doors right here, which I'm really happy with the way those turned out. And then these pots right here, utilizing the flower pots to showcase a flower, that is going to be how I actually navigate the Nether hub. So the torch flower brings me out to my blaze farm and my netherwort farm. And then the mushrooms right here take me out to Alice in Wonderland. As we proceed on out of the corridors, you can see that the flower pots are also found outside of here as well, with the corresponding flower. And then across the way, I can actually see that I have my tree farm over there with the panda sanctuary. Over here is the fox sanctuary, so that's found inside the snowy and icy area. And then right on over here is Motham City, so I use the Oxide Daisy and the Wither Rose in order to indicate that. And I'm also connecting these guys up to the main Nether hub as well. I feel like they're kind of lacking the feet, so I definitely need to do that. Another thing we can do for these central little areas right here is we can have an appropriate mob for wherever we're going. So maybe since this one takes us over to the Wither Skeleton farm, maybe a Wither Skeleton goes inside of this pod, and inside of this one a blaze goes in here because it takes us out to the blaze farm. And then obviously for the icy region, we'll put the iceologer here. Oh wait, hold on a minute. Yeah, I'm not too sure what we're gonna put inside of there. Maybe a polar bear, a fox or something. And it's also looking like this side of the Nether hub is going to need some beacons, so we're totally gonna have to set that up as well. And just for the way up to the Nether roof, I'm going to black everything out here so we can't see what's up above, and we're going to connect it up to the ceiling. And I really do wonder how this guy got up here. Honestly, I don't know. I don't have any idea how this is possible, but this frog has somehow lodged himself up into here for like the longest amount of time. So we're gonna have to save this guy. And I think if I just kind of bring him up like this, there we go. We could take him up out of the hole. I also re-enabled the fog inside the Nether, and I don't know if I like this more or if I like this less than having no fog in the Nether. It's kind of growing on me. What is your guys' opinion? This guy's also going to live in the summoning circle. Maybe something happened where he had to sacrifice his life to become a toad. So if you guys got names, you know what to do. But we enter in through here and we get out through the very bottom right here, which I don't think is at all noticeable. Go straight into this hole, fall all the way down, and this is the main hub. And of course, now we can't see anything. I would honestly say that's fairly smooth. So at this point, I'm pretty happy with the main Nether hub. I think I have all the components set in place. I have a proper way of navigating the Nether hub, but I still have a few other additional areas that need to be linked up to the central Nether hub, such as my medieval region, my coral palace, the city, the ice cathedral, and then this side just goes straight out into the main Nether itself. I have a couple blaze spawners over here that I'm not quite sure exactly what I want to do with them just yet. They are almost a double. I already measured it out. Unfortunately, it just does not match up. Right here is the maximum range for that spawner, and right on over here is the maximum range for this spawner. So unfortunately, I can't do a double. And of course, this is why we can't have nice things. I have to replace the wool on the outside here because the blazes are burning down my Nether hub. But it's also important to note that today's episode was sponsored by Systematically and Sam, the Queen of the Damned and the King of Crossroads. Because if it wasn't meant for their immense support over on the Twitch side of things, the channel points would have never been gathered in order to make this episode happen. So I appreciate the two of you guys. I really hope that you guys like your new Nether hub. And to think the original Contract of Life room was about this big right here, where I have the Contract of Life right here, where I used to fight a level 5 raid in order to earn another additional life in my world. But since then, things have definitely changed. Because now I've got this room right here, and I fight wardens with a spear in order to earn back totems. Now I just gotta clean up all of my shulker monsters. I'm also super curious to see how much gold that this gold farm provided to me while I was building up this monstrosity. Just a quick fly out to the city, where I have the original Nether portal set up right here, but I'm not quite sure exactly if that's where that's going to stay. I might move that elsewhere in the city. But inside the toy factory is where I actually have the gold farm linked up, and would you look at that, I also have another shulker monster out here. And for anybody who may be wondering why exactly I have so many Steve heads going on, it's because I'm using a mod called Peak that shows me all of the blocks that are inside of the shulkers. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work with micro blocks, but if I was to take one of these boxes, let's say, and I was to plop this down, it would show that I have redstone in here. Whatever I have the most abundance of, it will actually display. It's actually quite handy to have. You can see I've got leather in this one. This one's just a bunch of dye and apparently apparently I got snow in that one. I don't understand why I have that. And checking out the gold farm over here, it looks like I did manage to get quite a bit of gold, but not as much as I was hoping for. But that's okay, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be spending a ton of time in Motham, most likely building above these cat statues right here, and I need to figure out the road work down here, and I've got quite a few things that I need to build in this area, because this is quite the undertaking and is a massive space to fill. But just on over here is my gold farm, so I'm going to be leaving this thing running the entire time. I've also been getting rid of all the end pillars so I can make way for another mega build that's going to happen out there. This entire world's basically going to have an entire facelift before I hit 60,000 days. And with all the obsidian that I've acquired from that, I'm going to be building myself an even better gold farm for the future. So what can I say? I got a pretty awesome community who allows me to be here every single day and do what I do. But now I've got a ton of shulker boxes I got to sort and organize for the next episode. Let me know if you like the flow of these newer style videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.